Hi, welcome to Board Game Express. Today, we're going to strategy Blitz Granja. Now that you know how to play, let's talk about a couple of things to get your engine running a little more efficiently as you score up some points. And the first thing I want to talk about is cards. It should come as no surprise that the game is only 6 turns long, and the earlier you play your cards and the more you play, the more they do for you. So if you play a field onto your left, then basically from turn 1, that is going to generate an olive every single turn. It's going to generate 6 olives if I place it down on turn 1. If I place it down on turn 2, it's only going to generate 5, etc., etc. So the more cards you can play, and the earlier you play them, the immediate benefits they will be. Helpers, same way. Farm extension, same way. Now the market barrows, essentially what are market orders, a little less speed is not quite so important there unless you are going to rush the completion of one or two of the small ones in order to generate some really fast trade goods. That one's not quite as much of a rush. So cards. The idea is that this game lets you draw up to the standard hand size of 3, or as you build more extensions, 4 or 5. The more cards you play, the more cards you draw. So every card play is, in a weird way, a simultaneous subsequent card draw. So that means on turn 1, fight nice and hard for the 2 die that will let you get a card play. Think seriously about whether you have cards good enough that you want to spend this early trade good that you start with and get a card play right off the bat. So that's number 1. Second is, yes, it is an economic engine builder, and you generally want as much as possible. Another thing to kind of keep in mind is that there is a balance point between producing and using goods. So a very common sense point is you will generally in this game have about equal demand for grapes and olives and wheat. So you very often want to be making about the same amount of each. Now, unless you have a really, really extremely crazy helper that can very, very strongly take advantage of one kind of produce, you will want, a little bit of everything. You're going to want probably 1 olive, 1 wheat, and 1 grape at least producing on each of your farms as early as possible, of course. But to that end, you also have to look at the crafts and the market barrows that you have available to you. If you happen to draw ones that keep wanting the same product, well, then there may be some case for making more of that thing. So basically just align your production with what it is that you're actually making. Because the fields, they do not empty unless you use them. You cannot just voluntarily take the product off of it. If you ever plant fields that don't get used right away, they basically just sit for a turn dead, and since there is a good already in it, it won't produce the following turn. So, finally, and the one that is probably, I think, the most difficult for first-time players to kind of get their heads wrapped around is the idea of donkeys, the delivery actions. Most of the time, people playing their first couple of games will very badly underestimate the demand for donkey actions. And this has to do with the simple fact that at the beginning of the game, you're not producing very much. So there's not a lot of goods to be delivering. So you're not going to need a lot of donkeys. But I want you to think about something. If you look at all 6 of the craft buildings in the game and you were to add them all up, there should be 26 goods spaces. So 6 here, 5 here, 3, 3, 3. There are 26 goods that you potentially want to deliver during the course of the game. Now, understand that in the beginning, until you get kind of efficient with how you play this game, it's very difficult to deliver to all 6 of the crafts buildings over the course of a game. But once you get good at it, it's actually not that unreasonable to deliver all 6 during a game. That means 26 donkey actions. I know it sounds kind of funny saying that. 26 donkey deliveries during the game. That is on top of whatever market barrow orders you are going to try and fulfill. So let's say you maybe are ambitious. You want to do 2 of the ones that require 4 goods. That's another 8. That's 34 donkeys deliveries you're going to have to do over the course of the game. Now, let's take a look at your donkey bidding tiles. There's a 4. there's a 3, and there's a 2. Let's pretend we don't use that one, because remember, at the end of the third round, each of these that you use are locked. So after whichever one you pick for round 1, that's locked. And then round 2 is also locked. Round 3 is also locked. At the end of round 3, you're going to get those back and reuse them. You're going to get to use these 3 2 times each. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 deliveries times using them twice. That's 18 deliveries. All right, we made it up to 18 deliveries. So let's look over here. Let's say you buy that extra donkey delivery every turn. That's 6 more. So 18, 6 more. We're up to 24 deliveries. Oh, look at that. Literally using like the maximum donkeys available to us at the early game setup got us to 24 out of maybe the 34 donkey deliveries we're going to need. We're still 10 short. What are you going to do? Take 10 6 die? What are you going to do? Buy donkey roofs? There's only so many, and you're all going to be fighting for them. So, you are not going to have enough donkeys. Just, it helps to know that from the start, you are almost guaranteed to want a farm extension that has one. It probably wouldn't hurt to have a second, or it is some of the most, well, let's face it, the most useful helpers in the game allow you to play an extra card. Let's call a spade a spade. That's going to be the case. But the next set of very useful ones are going to be the ones that give you more donkey deliveries. So just kind of know going in that if you have not calibrated to that, that's going to be a very helpful thing to calibrate to. All right, so those are some useful tips for La Granja. Hopefully you'll be able to integrate them into your game and score more. Good luck out there.